Welcome to Season 2 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter and more knowledgeable about the field of parks and recreation. Join hosts Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three career-long friends from around the country as they dive into the world of parks and recreation with a surprise guest each episode. Laughs, leadership, life. This is RecLess.
All right, guys, I have our leadoff hitter waiting, ready to go.
And in case Shane doesn't know, that's a baseball reference.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Shane does not seem like a baseball
Yeah.
fanatic.
Shane's football and football,
That's
right?
Yeah.
If I'm at baseball, I'm there for the hot dog.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Are you guys ready?
Let's hit a home run.
All right.
Baseball reference. Got it.
Welcome to RecLess. This is the second season that we're entering right now, first episode of our second season. I think that all of us weren't really sure how far we'd run with it, and it's been a great experience. So I am Tom Venniro, and with me as always, Shane Mize and Jay Tryon here, looking to bring some knowledge to you all on the world of parks and recreation and beyond. Guys, how you doing today?
What's up?
I am great, man. Happy to be back for another season.
Agree.
Yeah. We just did our wrap-up show last week. So hopefully, we'll have some of our listeners get a chance to check that out too. That was a lot of fun, but really looking forward to season 2, maybe trying some new things with both of you and our guests. And so let's start today our little discussion with, we're going to try to look into the world of sports. So I think we all have, and for those of you who cannot see the screen, our listeners, of course, can't see when we're recording, our guest today is titled Season 2 Leadoff Hitter. So we got a little bit of a baseball reference there. We had to educate Shane on that prior to the show. He's got it now.
Got it.
So sports background, I know from knowing both of you, and we've shared some in general, either in conversation or on the show, some of our experiences with that, either as children or currently. Let's move on to kind of our opening question. With having some sports in our lives, as children and now, obviously, that's always been a big part of my life anyway, and we've talked about that. Why don't you share with me on a personal level your favorite or most cherished memory that revolves around sports? That could be either playing or following as a fan. I'll go first. I'll lead off here. Again, pun intended. I grew up with baseball and hockey. And within the last 5 years, I was able to throw out a first pitch at a local minor league game. So really cool memory just for me personally.
Did you bounce it?
No. Right to the catcher's glove.
Oh,
Now, what I did find out, though, you typically don't pitch from the mound. You're not necessarily, I'm sure they do that in the majors with some of the celebrities, but you're in front of the mound. So it's maybe not a true test of what a pitcher goes through, but it felt good. It was kind of neat to get in front of the crowd and do that. And then most recently, it's been great to be able to share that with my kids. And so now, growing up with my father and my mother and my brother, we always went to baseball games, hockey games, football games, and being able to do that now with our kids. Obviously, they're very young, 3 and almost 2. But most recently this past season, and I told Melissa about this conversation before last night before we had it, obviously, and she goes, "Oh, great, you're going to give more attention to Jack." And so, yeah, I mean, I am in this case.
He knows you well.
In the most recent few games that I attended here locally, one we sat near the opponent's dugout and we were right next to it. You could see inside, and one of the ball players gave Jack a ball, and that was one of the. I don't know if you ever had that experience as a child, but I did, and that was always one of my favorite parts about going to those games. So that was kind of neat. And then at the last game we attended, both Jack and Amelia's wearing her baseball bow and she's got her baseball shoes. So we're decking her out. They took a nice little picture in a photo op that we had in the stadium. But just to watch, we have it on video, how Jack actually is now getting into the game. The music that plays in between innings or in between pitches. And he had a blast. And it's really great to experience something that I've always had such a love for with my children.
That's awesome. I honestly could probably do an entire episode on like different sports memories because it's like I don't know where to start. Similar to you, I'm gonna probably list 2 or at least maybe go different directions because I can do it as myself as a memory and my kids as a memory. I grew up as a major sports family. I have two older brothers. We all grew up playing baseball. My little league was in my backyard. So literally I have 7 baseball fields in my backyard that was my first job ever. And worked there as an umpire, worked there doing the grounds crew. So was around baseball my whole life. My dad was one of my coaches. All of my best friends to this day were the kids I played baseball with in my little league. And, we go to road football games together for the Bills. We all hang out every day possible that we can. We're back home. Some still live in Buffalo, some don't. Got a ton of baseball memories. And then obviously I could talk about different Bills memories. But I think for me, one of the memories that first came to mind when you asked this is I took Noah, my oldest son, to his first Bills game 2 years ago. And, he watches all the games with me and he loves cheering them on. To see his face as you walk in the stadium or walk through the parking lot, all those first experiences is pretty memorable. I'm very, very, very fortunate. My family has had season tickets. This is the 60th year. So I've been going since I was his age. So that's just what I know. It's just like second nature to go to games, but he doesn't know that. And we kind of had a rule growing up that you don't really go till you're 8, 9 years old. Cause it's not can you sit still for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours if you're younger than that? He was counting down the days. So taking him to his first game 2 seasons ago was amazing.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know if that stadium's a great environment for anybody younger than 9 or 10 years old.
It can be challenging depending on where you sit. And as long as you're rooting for the right team, you're fine. I know you've had some different experiences, but you're not rooting for the right team. So maybe you can want to bring your family to the games.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not rooting for the right team, Shane, is one of your favorite memories the Russell Wilson interception against the Patriots?
No, I would not say that. In fact, I've been on my fair share of those types of. I feel like sports for me has definitely made me mentally tougher over the years, not just participating in them, but rooting. Teams I root for don't always have the most resounding amount of success. In fact, a lot of the games I've gone to in person, I've watched my team lose, the big games that I've gone to. And so I already don't like crowds. We've established that early on, and parking and walking and sitting around being squished in isn't my idea of happiness. And so having 3 or 4 losses in a row when you watch your teams, it's confirmed the fact I'll watch from home. So I do most of my stuff from the house. As far as memory, what popped in my head was we had a rival in high school. Texas high school football is pretty big, and we were a pretty good squad. Burleson, the town I grew up in, was a very good team. Went to the playoffs every year, usually 7-3, 8-2. But a nearby town, Cleburne, Texas, county seat, just got the better of us. 17 years straight, in fact, we lost to them. And my senior year, we beat them. And we were so confident we were going to beat them my senior year. We had We Are the Champions on tape, not even like a CD back then, but we had it on tape and gigged up and ready. And as soon as the clock hit 0, they started playing that. We were on our home field and celebrated for hours. It was a great experience. So it was fun to take one back from Cleburne after all those years, for sure.
It's a great story. In
That's cool.
Texas, Friday Night Lights is real. That is a thing, correct?
Yeah, it's a real crazy experience. I mean, the games. So that Cleburne game probably had 15,000 people in attendance, and then the kid that was my quarterback. I was the center. He was the quarterback. We played in college, and we knocked him out in the playoffs, as we were both squads were going for the national championship. Neither of us made it to that far. And I got to talk to my old quarterback. He's since passed, but I got to talk to him after the game. But that probably had 3,000 or 4,000 people. It was small school college football. High school football. Those years that you play, you're on a pedestal, and everyone's looking at you, and the success or failure of how you play seems to resonate all week with people's attitudes and their moods. So you definitely feel it as a young kid. There's a lot of pressure there in a lot of ways, but it's a really cool experience for sure.
Well, gentlemen, let's get to our guest today. I'm very excited about this one. My intention today was to throw you a curveball.
Baseball reference.
You got it.
I was wondering if you knew that.
All right. So our first guest of ours to be from the Rochester, New York area. So we have not had a guest that's been really close. Jay, you're the closest that we have as a co-host, being from the Buffalo area, living in North Carolina. Our guest was a Fighting Irishman, attended Notre Dame. Our guest has worked for their current organization, for 35 years.
Wow.
They're not directly in the field, but a leader of their industry, which is one of those industries that our field promotes and partners with on a regular basis. Our guest is definitely one of the best customer experience ambassadors that I know. I don't know if this is a real nickname, but certainly I see them as the king of parodies. So our show is kind of a parody. This individual in the organization does them very, very, very well. Very dedicated to whatever it takes to get people in the doors. And at one point, spent 6 nights, slept in the stadium in a bullpen during a losing streak until the team won a game back in 2002.
Holy mother.
They are the 1996, 1997, and 2012 International League Baseball Executive of the Year. Gentlemen, our guest today is Dan Mason, the general manager of the Rochester Red Wings.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
Awesome.
How we doing, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm
All
good.
right.
How are you?
Very good.
Dan,
Thanks for having me
welcome.
on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I've known you for a while now, and I'm really excited to have you here. I've had some of the best experiences that I could recall at Rochester Red Wings games, and that's obviously largely in part to your efforts and the team that you've put around you. And so it's really a pleasure to be here. We partner with you. In addition to my personal experience, we partner with you a lot here through all my organizations, Hilton-Parma, back when I was in Gates, and with Chili. The memories that you provide and the Red Wings provide for our community are ones that I know that they cherish for years to come. It's a true family environment. And really, I want to talk a little bit today about how sports and parks and recreation work together, how they relate in parallel ways. Also, how the customer experience is such a very big part of what we both do. So if you can get us started maybe by telling us a little bit about what you do as general manager for the Rochester Red Wings, how that might be different from what people traditionally think of as a general manager for an athletic organization or a professional sports team.
Sure. So, typically if I'm speaking to a group of people here in Rochester at a rec center or at a Rotary Club meeting or wherever I'm at, I typically like to remind them that if the team stinks, it's not my fault. That is the one thing. Most people don't remember anything I say, but I hope they remember that, so that if they're here at a game and we're having a tough night, that they don't throw a hot dog with mustard and ketchup at me, because those ketchup and mustard stains are tough to get out of suits. My role and really the role of a minor league general manager, at least for baseball, is to run the business side of the operation, everything that has to do with the on-field product, the coaching staff, the trainer, our video coach, our strength coach, our nutritionist, all the players. They're all paid and employed by our major league affiliate. In our case, that's America's team, the Washington Nationals. So our job as GMs is really to oversee all the other, parts of the business, really the business side of the business. And our job is really to make sure when you, your family, and your friends, when you come to a game here at Innovative Field, that it was worth your time and worth your money. Two things that I think everybody has less of these days, right? Because of phones and people are always on the go. And, so our job is really make sure that the 3 to 4 hours that you spend here, like I said, it's fun. And while my title is general manager, it could really be director of fun, because that's what we're here to do. When you walk out of the stadium at the end of the night, it's our job to make sure you have a smile on your face, whether the team has won the game or whether the team has lost. Now, certainly it makes my job easier when we win, because everybody's in a better mood when we win. But if we don't, we still hope that, the food was great, that you had some laughs. Maybe you got an autograph or you got a foul ball, or our mascots stopped by to say hello to your kids. Maybe you got a free T-shirt out of a T-shirt cannon, or you got to participate in an in-game promotion. But ultimately, it was quality time with your family and your friends, and you had some laughs.
First off, I'm so thrilled that you're here with us today, because I will say, growing up in Buffalo, I had season tickets to the Bisons, which is the minor league team in Buffalo.
Right.
And I used to go, and one of my favorite things is they typically used to have, when I was younger growing up, their opening day would be on a school day. And my parents would actually take us out of school and we'd go to opening day. So it was like, I'm in 4th grade and I'm missing school to go to a baseball game. Like, what's cooler than that? But I will also say,
great parents.
Yes, exactly. I have a ton of memories to what you just spoke on. So, there's a variety of different things that we would look forward to as a attendee of a game. whether it was doing like the Earl of Bud dance that does
Yep.
it on the dugout, and seeing some of the vendors like Conehead, who you probably know who that is, but most of our listeners don't. But he walks around the stadium, sells concessions with a cone on his head, like the movie Coneheads. But it's things like that I remember as a attendee of a game. Are there things that you are trying to implement that you created that strive to do that on a regular basis, that are like one-off games, or all the time? Or how do you come up with new ideas to make that memorable experience happen regularly?
I think it's a combination of things, and it's great to hear that you have some great memories from going to Bison's games. Those guys are great friends of mine. They do an incredible job, and that's one of the cool things about our industry. Obviously, like your industry, while we are competitors on the field, the Bisons and the Syracuse Mets and the Columbus Clippers, we all share our best ideas on how to attract fans and make the fan experience as good as it can possibly be. So it's a much different industry than, let's say, the soda business, right? Coke would never call Pepsi and say, "Hey, man, I got a great idea on how you can sell more soda." It just, that doesn't happen. They're fierce competitors, and there's nothing more than I like than beating the Syracuse Mets. I mean, it is like a tremendous highlight for me every time we beat them. But their GM is a great friend of mine, and we share ideas constantly. And same with the guys at the Bisons. So yeah. I think your question is a great one. There's certain things we try to do on a consistent basis in terms of drawing fans. Like, for instance, we'll do fireworks every Friday and Saturday. Every Sunday, kids get to run the bases. Every Tuesday, we have half-price tickets. Every Wednesday, we do a jersey or T-shirt giveaway. Thursdays are for the plates. We play as the Rochester Plates, which is our alternate identity, paying homage to the best delicacy in the history of food, the garbage plate. So you're from Buffalo. You're probably familiar. And
very familiar. I also went to Brockport, so it was
there you go.
So you're on a lot of college nights.
There you go. But there's also things that we do on a one-off basis. We have Star Wars night every year. We have our tribute to the Negro Leagues night every year. We have a beach night every year. There's certain promos we do once a year that our fans look forward to. I know in Buffalo, they do the BPO night, the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra night. We do the same thing with our Philharmonic Orchestra. It's a big highlight of the season when they can come out and play a post-game concert. So there's certain things that we do every night. There's certain things we do one night a week, and there's certain things that we do once a year. But everything is the way we look at it. We have 75 games. We try to have a different party theme every single night, and something that will attract a certain segment of our population. Because we realize a lot of people maybe don't like baseball. I don't understand that at all, but I've come to the realization that it's a fact. So we have to try to attract people to the ballpark for reasons other than the game itself. We try to do enough different promotions that there's got to be at least one thing that's going to want to inspire you to come to a game, whether you like baseball or not, and you can still have a great time, whether you like baseball or not.
Obviously, you can see the parallels of what we do on a day-to-day basis. I love to hear that what you're doing and how you share with your colleagues in other areas. That's exactly what it's like in our field too. To that extent, I learn a lot of lessons from you. When I go to those games, I'm not just going to the games as a baseball fan anymore. I'm going and trying to, absorb some of the really great ideas that you're having here. And Shane, we've talked about the garbage plate before, and apparently, Dan, I don't know if you're aware of this, but macaroni salad, mac salad as we call it, is not looked upon as an actual food down south in Texas. So when I explain this to certain people, yeah, Shane thinks it's disgusting. He's going to try it at some point. But anyhow, yes, garbage plates, I can vouch for that, and I'm glad I have Jay here to back us up. Dan mentioned something that I really just wanted to bring up today about how they don't do something every night, right? You have to switch it up. And one really, really neat promo that they have is a bat dog. Milo the bat dog is a golden retriever. Just passed away recently this year, and that shook a lot of the fans to their core too, because this dog was the most beloved dog. Basically, took the job of a bat boy. Would go out in between at bats, go grab the bat with its mouth, and the ovation that this dog got, I'm telling you, louder or greater than probably most of the players, to their dismay maybe. Most recently, the as I understand it, Dan, the owner of that dog has a new bat pup called Bruce, who is
Correct.
a puppy in training that you released a video on social media recently. One of the most adorable things I've seen. But that's just one of those examples, and you don't do that every game. You don't have the dog out there every game. Like there's intentionality behind all of those decisions.
Yes. So Milo used to work about 6 games, 6 to 10 games a year, I would say, and that's probably what we'll do with Bruce as well. Bruce is our new bat dog. Bruce Wayne is the Batman, and Bruce the dog is the bat dog. So,
That's cool.
we're really looking forward to watching him grow. He's only about, I think, 12 or 13 weeks old right now. So he's just a big ball of fur, but you can tell with the size of his paws, he's going to be a phenomenal bat dog, and he already loves fetching stuff. So, but you're right, we could be losing a game 18-0 in the ninth inning, and if Milo would run out to get a bat, the place would erupt. And I think that goes back to, we can't control what happens on the field, whether the team wins or loses. We have zero control over that. What we can control or try to control is the game experience and making sure that you have fun. That's the bottom line. Playing some great music, doing things like having a bat dog, making sure our mascots are out there, doing other promos to keep you engaged, providing some of the best ballpark food and beverages that are out there in professional baseball. I'm biased, but I think our food and beverage team does an incredible job. And it's a really big part of the game experience is what you're going to eat. Most people won't remember our starting pitcher or the guy that hit the home run in the third inning. But if I called them the next day and say, what'd you have to eat? They would give me a rundown of, they started off with a great Zweigel's hot dog and the definitely not a Salen's hot dog. A Zweigel's hot dog, probably a white hot dog with some Rochester meat hot sauce on it. And then in the third inning, probably go into some pulled pork nachos, and then you got to top it off with some mini melts at the end of the game. But those are the things. Food elicits great memories for people, just like sports. And that's some of the things that people always talk about when they come to our games.
When I was in grad school up at Western Illinois, they had something called, I think it was called the Horseshoe. It was an open face sandwich that they put fries and gravy and all this other shit on. And I never ate that either. So don't feel. But in grad school, I started out on the coaching side. I was in sports management, and I was helped with the football team, and then I ultimately transferred to recreation. And I switched my major from sports management to recreation in grad school. But some of my other sports management majors, if you weren't coaching, you were kind of limited to what other things you were going to do with that degree. A lot of them went into minor league baseball. It was fun to observe them, and I've lost track of most of them over the years. But we talk about on this podcast in some ways trying to get to a yes. When your staff comes up with a crazy idea, trying to get to a yes. And it seems like that culture is alive and thriving with the promotions y'all do at the minor league level. A previous guest, Ryan Hegerness, was on, and he started something called Brand Aid, and he brought down Mike Veck. And the conference was about branding, and Mike came down and spoke, and he was amazing. But some of his promotions weren't always to please. They were to shock, right? Like the vasectomy, the free vasectomies on Father's Day weekend or whatever. So of your promotions, do you have any that are just to go viral? Do you try to siphon some off and say, this is a great opportunity to really go viral, or all yours just like we're caring about the experience in the park itself?
That's a great question. And, if you have never had a chance to hear Mike Veck speak at a conference, I highly recommend it. He is a phenomenal speaker and a great operator of minor league baseball. Been fortunate to hear him talk on more than a couple occasions. Very entertaining guy. And I think that ultimately that's the mindset that we try to have is like, let's keep this entertaining for our fans and make it entertaining for our fans, and always trying to think of what's something new that we can do that is really going to get us some media attention, right? It's harder nowadays to garner media attention because there's so many. When I first started in this business, there was radio, there was TV, and there was newspaper. And now you've got Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. and not as many people read the newspaper, and you've got TV, but you've also got cable TV, you've got streaming services. It's just hard to keep track of all the different, ways for people to find out about what you got going on. So I think the first thing we try to do is come up with a promotion that we think will drive traffic and make it fun for our fans and interesting. And then what we try to do is come up with maybe a video or two that might have a chance to go viral, but at the same time attract attention to the fact that this is a night that we're doing. So we do a night where we'll bring in a character or an actor or actress from the TV show The Office. It's a tremendously popular show. Obviously, we've had Stanley, we've had Meredith, we've had Kevin, and I can tell you, we've had a lot of autograph appearances here over the years. We've had Hall of Fame baseball players, football players, hockey players, but the longest line for autographs and selfies we've ever had was for Stanley from The Office. And, to promote the fact that we're doing an office night, we every year we'll take a famous scene from that show, and we'll parody it. And those always seem to draw attention to the game itself, but also entertain people and give them a chuckle and make them think about coming out to a game.
So no vasectomies though on Father's Day. None of that.
No, we haven't done that yet.
So the office night, I can attest to it. I believe I was at Stanley's game. The theming on that is brilliant. The food options. So there's special food options that come in for that. So I believe on that one, I don't know if you all remember, there was
Kevin's chili.
Well, Kevin's chili was definitely in the Kevin appearance. I believe the Stanley appearance, there was a pretzel. I don't know if you all remember Pretzel Day.
Yeah, I remember.
So there was a pretzel line where you just load up your pretzel.
And someone cut in front of him or something, and he got really mad. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So great stuff. And I don't know if obviously you all don't know this, but I've encouraged you all to go look at the social media. If you don't know this, Dan is also quite the actor. And this is what I really appreciate about Dan as well, is when they do these parodies, Dan's in the videos. He's usually the star of the video. So he's been Buddy the Elf. He's did the parkour scene from The Office. That was one of the promo videos, which was hilarious. Great video. Dan and the mascot and another individual.
Just keep screaming parkour.
And yeah, just jumping all over the place.
Basically it. Jump on the tarp, jump over a garbage can, jump on the dugout. Yeah.
So I want to this is the first time we've done this on our show, is show you guys a clip. And I know our listeners won't see the clip, but they'll hear it. If you're familiar with the old Allstate commercials and Mayhem, the Red Wings and Dan did one called Maceham, and it is phenomenal. So I'm going to play that for you quick. It was a great promotion to get people into the park. I'm looking at snow right here outside of my window. And this is kind of the premise of the video, is that, hey, get to the ballpark before the snow comes.
I'm the winter, and I'll be here before you know it. And all those things you love about Red Wings baseball will be gone until next season. Baseball hat? Nah. You're gonna need these. These beer bats? Out of here. These hot dogs, they gone. Instead of running the bases, you'll be using this thing for exercise. So before your family, feathers, and fun turn into snow, slush, and hibernation, go to RedWingsBaseball.com. Get your tickets now for the last 2.5 homestands of the season. And protect your summer from winter like me.
How long is that a day, 2 days?
To film it?
Yeah.
We did it in probably 2 hours.
Wow. It's great.
That's really cool.
It's good stuff. And I wanted to ask you, I've probably never asked you this before, but you're a great sport. You're a real, as I mentioned before, you're a leader, and you kind of are an ambassador of that brand that you put out there to the community. One of the last games I was at this year, there was a huge crowd, and I don't even know if they expected that crowd. And maybe Dan, you didn't have the staffing that you would have for a crowd that you're, I guess, working in the higher range. And as I recall, you were out at one of the beer stands slinging beers, selling right out there with the concession folk and selling beers. You really get your hands in that. And I wanted to just kind of ask you about that perspective and where that comes from and where that mindset really originates from.
Our job is to make sure that people have fun. And when I go to an event, last time I checked, it wasn't very fun to stand in a line. So there's nothing more that I hate than a line. Whether it's a line to get into the parking lot, a line to get into the box office, or into the ballpark, or a line at the concession stand. So our job is to eliminate lines whenever we can, as fast as we can. So we're a team here, whether our titles mean very little in minor league baseball. I think that event you're talking about maybe was in September, and when a lot of our college students are back at school. So we were a little shorthanded on the concession side of things. So we had a great crowd, and that particular stand needed a little help at that time. So that's what we all do. It's not just me; it's everybody on our staff. Again, our job is to make it as fun as possible for the time that people are here, and we want to make sure people get their hot dog or their beer as fast as possible, so they miss as little of the action as possible.
So you're definitely committed. I mean, the idea that you slept 6 days in a dugout means you're all in on all the different promotions and things that you're doing. But you signed up for that role, right? Like,
yeah.
I watch at times. I don't watch a lot of baseball. Obviously, that was hammered out ahead of time. But Savannah, is it the Banana?
Yes.
Like, that's a different level of commitment, right? Those players are all in on the gig, and I know that they're not a minor league affiliate. I know that they're doing it because this is an opportunity for them to stay involved in the game, and it's a little bit different. But do ticket holders understand that? Do they come in and do they see some experience that an independent club's getting to do that's not necessarily affiliated with the minor league system, and say, oh, I want our guys to throw bananas out at halftime and have the wave, and because that's a different layer of commitment when you have players involved in that way. How does that put any stress on what y'all do?
No, I think our fans understand that the best way that I can describe the Bananas is sort of the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, and I think our fans get that. And our players are more. These guys are guys that are working their way up to the big leagues. They're trying to become. I tell people all the time, we get our players before they become household names. So we are AAA. We're one stop before they get to the big leagues. So you could be watching a game out here at Innovative Field one night and see our player maybe get his autograph, and the very next night you might be watching him on ESPN. I tell people all the time that Derek Jeter played against us in 1995, and they say, well, you must have been sold out, right? It must have been crazy. And I said, no, it's because Derek Jeter wasn't Derek Jeter yet. In 1995, unless you were really into knowing who the best prospects were, you didn't really know him. He was just, a guy in the Columbus Clippers.
Now, do you kick back when they come on rehab, though? Like on a rehab assignment, do you see a bigger boon on that 3-day stretch or whatever?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So we've had Steven Strasburg pitch for us within the last couple of years, and we saw a big boost in attendance with him. We've seen, one of the largest crowds we've had was when we were hosting some games for the Yankees AAA affiliate, and Andy Pettitte was down on a rehab assignment. So for sure, when big names like that come down and play against us, it definitely has a big impact on our attendance.
Is that more pressure on a night that you have a promotion? Because you set these promotions up months in advance. I'm sure you're planning them out, and then all of a sudden Roger Clemens comes down for a 3-day stretch, and it was hand out the bat night or something. Does the viralness of the player ever combat or impact the viralness of the event?
No, I don't think so. I think it just enhances, it makes whatever promotion we were doing that night even better, right? I don't really care what entices people to come as long as they come. So whether it's for the game or to see a certain player, or whether it's, because it's Star Wars night, it doesn't matter to me as long as they give us an opportunity to make sure they have fun.
Well, and to kind of piggyback off that, you mentioned earlier that it's all hands on deck. So, you will go out and help the concession line if that's what's needed. When you have a big name that you may not know in advance they're pitching or they're coming through, and ticket sales go through the roof, do you have the ability to bring in more staff, or is your staff just what it is? Because I mean, we kind of have a lot of parallels with this with events. Like, and there might be a Park and Rec special event that we're planning to have 500, but there's 2,000 or 1,000 that show up for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden it's like, we might have to pivot, but do you have staffing capacities to handle more if a major league pitcher is going to be there?
Yeah, we can get, we have games where we know we're going to get, over 10,000 people, and, we have enough staff for that. Occasionally we'll get, all of a sudden, for no reason, we'll get a beautiful day and we'll get a rehab guy and we've got a great promotion. And a lot of times we don't find out about those rehab appearances until a day or 2 or 3 days before they happen. So when that does happen, then we do have to certainly get on the horn and try to bring in some more people. But staffing is a big deal, right? It makes the experience better. So no matter if you're short staffed with ushers or ticket takers or security or parking lot people or concessions, can have an impact on your overall experience. So it's a big thing that we look at constantly. Do we have enough people to service the crowd we're going to have?
You don't work an 8 to 5 type of job. And
What's that?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. I imagine in season, your workload's incredible. How long is the season typically? And what's your off season like? Is there any time in season for this mythical work-life balance, or you to get any type of recuperation, or do you try to do all that in the off season? You try to fill up your cup completely because it's just slowly pouring out all season long. What's that like?
Yeah, I would say it's always busy, but it's particularly busy, obviously, April through. So we start April 2nd as our first game here at home this year, and we play till September 22nd. And even when the team is on the road, we have 75 home games during that stretch, and we'll probably have another 40 to 50 other events when the team is on the road. So there's not a lot of days when there's absolutely nothing going on here. And that includes, times when we have to do maintenance, to certain areas of the ballpark, but also just to get ready. And, we sort of have a game plan in place in terms of promotions and so forth. And then we're usually home for 6 days and then gone for 6 days and then back. So when the team is on the road is when we get ready for the next homestand. But you're always thinking ahead, what do we need to do? What kind of marketing do we need to do to promote, the homestand that's a month and a half from now? You got to think ahead or else it's not going to work. And I would say like those days are, game days are long days. I usually get here about 9 or 9:30 and I'm usually here till 11 or 11:30 or so. And it's hard to kind of get away much during the summer. So the fall is definitely when we get a chance to hang out and spend more time with our families. And even this time of year, it's pretty busy.
All birthdays, anniversaries are all celebrated at the graduation, all celebrated in the fall, right?
Yeah, I mean, my kids were born in December and in February, and they just had to be. I told my wife we can't have any kids during the summer.
So we all can relate, but I don't, not to that extreme. That is very extreme. And I want to transition to the parallels, what I guess maybe more or less the relationship between Parks and Recreation and sports. And so before I get in there, I just want to put out there, the office nights are such a great time. We look forward to going to those. However, there's a really, really great show called Parks and Recreation.
Oh, I know.
And
I would love to get Jerry, from Parks and Rec here.
Can we do something where we could partner? And I don't know if we'd be the first to have a Parks and Recreation night at a baseball game, but I would love to do something like that.
We'll team throw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
They can figure something out. Who throws it the fastest?
There we go.
So, all right. So going back to Parks and Rec. So just to lay out or set the table for what some of the, I guess, the ways that we partner is, we have a rec baseball league. So on certain youth rec baseball nights at the park, we'll come out and our kids will all get to march on the field, right? So they'll get to go on the warning track and go around the field. There's interactions during those games with the mascots and, a lot of really make it fun for our individuals. And you've been kind enough that when we go, sometimes I'll ask if we could bring our mascot, which is great. And so we'll go out there on the field and it's always a really cool experience because the other agencies that are there, the other towns, they don't bring a mascot. And I feel like they think that it's part of the whole show, but we have people from other towns or communities come in and take pictures with our mascot, which is kind of a neat thing. So it's really great that you let us do that. Reduce tickets, right? So we'll just do a night at the Red Wings where you'll provide us with group rate on tickets. We do, I think you all do, and we take our seniors to a senior day. Trying to think of some of the other ideas or concepts of how we partner, but you're very kind in terms of donating as well when we have prizes or want to give away tickets or something like that. What could you talk a little bit about the importance of partnerships? I know the Red Wings partner with a lot of agencies. And so I just wanted to kind of hear about and elaborate on that and how that impacts your operations.
I think it's, essential. We couldn't do literally any of the things we do around here without collaborations, either with corporate partners or community partners. We had a meeting yesterday where we brought in, we have one of our other alternate identities, our Latin American identity, is we play as the Cocos Locos de Rochester 3 times a year. So we had some people from the Latin American community here for lunch yesterday, and we just, brainstormed and threw out some ideas. How can we more effectively reach people in the Latin American community about these days? How can we make it more fun for people at the games? What kind of education can we do during the games? Either educating our fans about great Latin American players in the history of the Red Wings. What kind of music should we be playing? What kind of foods should we be serving? All those things that can help make the experience better for all our fans, not just our Latin American fans. But that's just one example of collaboration. I think we try to be a lot more than just a baseball team. We want to be woven into the fabric of this community. And, we do that through our corporate partnerships, but also with a lot of our partnerships with not-for-profit organizations in town. It's important to give back, and it's important to partner with people. A lot of people have better ideas than we do. And we can come up with a concept, but we may not know how to execute it the best possible way. And so dealing with people who are more familiar with those, whatever it is, really helps us to put our best foot forward and put on the best show that we possibly can.
So, as someone who's put on events, I mean, you said you're putting on how many events you think a year? Promotions and events you're putting on? 100.
Probably about 125.
So that's got that Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour concept, and it's you're doing it on such a short window, and you've done it for so long. I would love to hear, for our audience who also put on events, not at that prolific of a rate, there had to be an incredible oh shit moment where you had to pivot, where y'all had something planned and you had to say, how are you going to make the best of this situation? Do you have one or two of those you could share? Because I'm sure our audience would benefit from the thought process behind some of that.
Yeah. There was a thing called COVID that happened a few years ago.
Yeah, we'd understand that.
And our season got canceled. I look like this because this is a lot of rainouts and a lot of losses. So I've had those moments many a times due to Mother Nature. We could have a full house. We could have 10,000 tickets sold. We could have the best promotion going. And then if it rains and we never play, then okay, again, that's why I look like this. But COVID was just the worst. I mean, for a lot of reasons, obviously for everybody in the world, but for our business, it was just devastating. To hear that you're not gonna. We weren't a restaurant really that could do takeout. We weren't a store that people could really order from. We had some of that, but you know what I'm saying. Our core business is putting on an entertainment venue, and we couldn't do it, and our season got absolutely canceled. So how do we still try to make money to stay in business? We had to do a lot of different things. We did a thing called Dinner on the Diamond, where fans came, and again, as I mentioned, people love eating here. So we put picnic tables right on the field, and people could come out and eat. I never thought I would be a maitre d'. I thought the best I would be is a dishwasher, which I have done before. So we did that. We did drive-in movies in our VIP parking lot. We put a big, almost like what you would see at a concert, big screen, video screen up, and we sold cars. And then people came in and parked and watched drive-in movies. Never thought I'd be running a drive-in movie theater, but we did during COVID. Early in COVID, we had curbside service where we actually had a couple people on our staff put on their rollerblades and rollerbladed from the kitchen out to people's cars to deliver food.
Cool.
We had, we were selling masks with our logo on it. We were selling hand sanitizer when it was like liquid gold. We were doing that out of our team store. So we basically did everything we could, and we had to adjust to the laws of New York State as COVID was going on. So I think that those things, but that was the toughest thing, where we had to really be nimble and adjust. But weather is our biggest opponent, not the Buffalo Bisons or the Syracuse Mets or any of the teams that we're playing. Weather is what drives our business more than anything. Weather and the play of the team. And again, I have nothing to do with either one of those.
Right.
Which makes that's the challenging part of our job.
I could attest to Dinner on the Diamond being one of the most unique experiences that I've ever, been through. It was really great to do that. And realistically, that probably resonates with Shane and Jay. Everything that you just said about COVID, Dan, that's what we all lived through, and trying to find relevance in a time where, and I know you didn't elaborate on this necessarily, but when you look at a ballpark, you got seats that are right on top of each other. And then even when you came back, you had to be at a point where you got to be 6 feet apart or whatever it would be. Creating that outlet for people were craving getting back out on the ball field. So any way to do it. And I know a lot of us did some similar type of programming with drive-through food truck rodeos or whatever it would be, just to give people an outlet.
It even opened up our eyes to other potential future events. We did a few high school graduations where the parents sat in their cars and watched the graduation on this movie screen, and the kids were inside, separated by 6 feet. And now we host, for a couple of years, we were doing 6 high school graduations a year. And some of those schools still do it today. So it opened up a door that is still open for us.
I believe the Hilton Central School District recently had their graduation with you as well. Dan, what I'd like to do, we try to do a fun game to wrap up the episodes usually. In this particular case, kind of a round robin game. We're gonna rapid fire some questions at you. And so I'll start. Once at a retreat that I was at, I was asked what my favorite park was. And the traditional or typical answer would be maybe a state park or a local park or a national park even. And my answer was, well, it was at the time, it was Frontier Field, but it was Innovative Field. I love that field. I love that stadium. It's got some great architecture. It's got this really, I don't know, this like everybody's connected feel to it, right? And it's architecturally beautiful. So outside of what I would assume is your favorite ballpark in Innovative Field, what other baseball field park have you visited that you would say is your favorite?
I would say probably Fenway Park, and just the history there is amazing, and it's so unique for baseball. And then I would say Notre Dame Stadium for football. Just have a lot of great memories of going to games there with my family.
Sticking with the theme of sports stadiums, is there another stadium or event that you've gone to outside of baseball that had a impact on you from an experience perspective that said, oh man, I want to bring that back to Rochester in some capacity? And if so, what was it and where was it?
The Winter Classic at the home of your Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
I took my son there, and it was such an amazing, the first Winter Classic, I should say, when the Sabres played the Penguins.
That's the cool thing, is they were the first.
The very first, exactly. And a lot of people forget about that.
Yep.
So I went to that event, and I remember walking home with my, through the snow. It was a very cold, snowy day, and walking back to the car with my son. And I was like, we got to do this called Frontier Field. And then a few years later, the opportunity presented itself in, again, partnership with the Buffalo Sabres, the Rochester Americans, their AAA hockey team, and the Rink Company. we all collaborated to bring Frozen Frontier here in 2013. And it was one of those, you talk about all of our jobs are about making memories for our customers, right? And that, to this day, I still get people all the time that say that, they remember being here, freezing their tails off, at the Frozen Frontier, but they loved it. And
Cool.
so I think that the first Winter Classic, it was I couldn't wait to do it in my ballpark.
That's
Dan,
cool.
Dan, what year was that?
2013.
So 2013. My wife and I were married in 16. That was one of our first dates and one of the most incredible experiences and memories. So to add to what I forgot all about, not forgot all about it, but until you jarred my memory, I remember the snow. I remember taking selfies out there. It was it's just a unique experience. I'm so glad you brought it back to Rochester.
Okay, so my round robin question. You seem like a real community leader. Probably you probably know a lot of people in a lot of different facets of the community. You probably have a really cool Rolodex. Who is your coolest contact in your mobile phone?
Oh man. That is a great question. Oh boy. I would have to say,
Other than Tom, obviously.
other than Tom. Oh yeah, you stole my answer. Well, I will say in honor of Jay, I will say Thurman Thomas.
Nice.
That's a big deal for Jay.
That's pretty cool.
That's
He's
huge.
he's an amazing guy, and obviously was a phenomenal football player, NFL Hall of Famer, but just what a great dude, and and a phenomenal ambassador for the Bills and the city of Buffalo. Like he's not from Buffalo, but he lives there, and he acts like a native of upstate New York, and he's a huge baseball fan too. So we bring him in every year, sign autographs, and I'd have to say he's probably at the top of the list.
Cool.
And
That's
then
cool.
Tom is a close second. Tom
Yeah,
is
for
1A.
sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and these experiences that you create there, I think, are just, they've been so invaluable to me. And, that's where it really parallels to what we do on a daily basis too. That's what we're trying to do. Really give our residents a reason to want to come back the next day. Right. And that's what you all do over in your neck of the woods as well. So I really appreciate you joining us today. And it was really nice to have a guest in a field that's pretty parallel to ours. And I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. And good luck for the rest of season 2. I'm sure you'll get guests that are way, way, way better than me. So
What's the website if we want to buy something from the store?
go to redwingsbaseball.com. That's redwingsbaseball.com. We have some great drip available in the Red Wings team store. So, fans should check it out.
I'm going to order something from Texas. I can't wait. Thank you.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
guys.
You got it. Thank you, Dan. You take
See you
care.
later. You bet. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's fun.
Yeah, he's a great guy. They run a really, really spectacular operation around here. Spikes and Mitzi are the two mascots that if you do go to the team store, you'll see a lot of Spikes and Mitzi. They're birds, Red Wings. And I really do encourage everybody, if you want inspiration on your socials or just ideas of marketing and promotion. I know we didn't really say, okay, this is all about marketing promotion, because really ultimately the reason behind that is to get people in the door, right, and provide that experience. But I've got some of the best ideas that we've been able to implement on our end from the efforts that they put forward on a regular basis. So check it out.
I can think of 4 or 5 of my colleagues at Western that went into minor league baseball, and I've lost track with some of them. I know some of them are still involved in some way or another, but it was always cool those first couple years out of grad school to be checking Facebook and socials and see how hard they were working, all the cool promotions they were coming up with. That is a really creative, hardworking group of people that are out there every dadgum day to just make your experience just a little bit better. That's all they're trying to do is move that needle. And I didn't know Dan, obviously, but I knew so many Dans that I went to school with. It was cool to think about them in this process. That was really cool. And thank you.
Yeah, it's so neat to hear all the parallels too, because obviously we're all in the park and rec industry providing memorable experiences through parks and programs and facilities, and they're doing the same thing in a different avenue. Not everyone is going to the game to watch baseball. I mean, if you're going with three kids, how much of the game you're actually watching versus the foul balls and the food and the entertainment and all that. So that's really neat.
Sure, when we're out somewhere together in Dallas or whatever conference, and y'all say you want to go to an NBA game or an NFL game or a baseball game or whatever, I would only go just to shoot the shit with y'all and sit down and talk and eat whatever they have that day. I mean, that to me is the experience. Whatever's happening on the field is secondary to me. So yeah, and I think any of us could have found ourselves in that job if something shakes differently for us when we're young professionals. So
Yeah, Jay, you and I talk, and I know Shane as well, about food, but Dan mentioned about how how big of an aspect of what they do is centered around food, right? Or just how everybody's experiences these days are centered around food. I'll just tell you, I'm biased, but they have been doing this for years. Their food selection is so diverse and so unique compared to most stadiums. A lot of stadiums, and I know they're all changing because we're growing more and more into a foodie's world, right? It's becoming a foodie's world. But they've been doing this for years, so they've been on the forefront of this. The typical stadium was hot dogs, chicken fingers, pizza. This place has everything. I mean, they have a macaroni and cheese stand, a La Fiesta tacos, a sub area, red osier, roast beef stand. I mean, you can get just about everything here.
Well, we did a round robin, but we only did one round. I was ready for us to come back around, and I was going to ask him what's his favorite meal he's had at a different ballpark, and how does it compare to the best meal he's had at his ballpark,
And I see that every year. It's always leading up to baseball season and maybe football season too, but it's probably more prominent with baseball stadiums than it is other sports. But there's always a new hot food list that comes out in April when the baseball season kicks off. It's like they try to outdo each other. And you're right. Like, people are not just going to watch football anymore. They're going for a full experience, or not just football, any sport, but it's food, it's entertainment, it's the game, it's the giveaways, it's all that stuff.
If he hasn't done it, if they have hot wings, he should do the hot list where he hosts people trying the hottest wings that he, from that hot list podcast. That would be hilarious. He looks a lot like that host, I think, too. So he could do that as a promo. That's a free one for Dan.
Well, I had a great time. I hope you guys did as well. And I appreciate him taking the time. I also, Shane, wanted to maybe go another round, but I did want to be respectful to Dan's time and of course your time as well. And I almost, one of the questions I didn't ask, because we kind of talked about it, baseball is quote unquote America's pastime. It's really taking a backseat to the NFL and whatever else. There's lacrosse.
Yep.
There's everything, right? People have opportunities to do a lot out there. Being able to keep up with it. And to your point, Shane, if we were to go and we were at one of these national conferences and we were going to go to a game, unless it was a team that I really, really, really wanted to see, I think baseball might be the only sport that I would want to go to with you all, because it's outdoors. It's a little more spacious. You don't necessarily have to watch every pitch. If that makes any sense, where a lot of the other sports, you can't really miss much of the action if you really want to know what's going on.
And we've done that. So the last time the conference was in Baltimore, we went to a game, and I don't know if Shane, if you were there, but I know there was a handful of us that went to an Orioles game.
Yeah, that's a beautiful stadium.
Camden Yards, yeah. Yes. So I believe the architect of Camden, I don't want to be quoted on this, but I'm pretty sure that the field here in Rochester was modeled after that stadium.
We had a great experience last time all three of us were at Camden.
Yeah, really great. I do remember the after hours, or I should say the hours after that experience were very unique. Well, we won't get into that. We'll save that. We'll tease that for another episode. I, again, want to thank Dan Mason, General Manager of the Rochester Red Wings. And guys, I appreciate your time in kicking off season 2 of RecLess today. For all of our listeners, we'll catch you next time.
See y'all.
See you guys.